What's going on, guys? I'm Dustin and I wanted to talk about lenses today. And the reason I want to talk about lenses is because I've been getting a lot of questions, and I think that this type of video will help a lot of people out there who are just started vlogging, doing videography, or just learning to use a camera in general. I really want to help those people because when I first started recording video and using my lenses for pictures, I had no idea what I was doing, and I had no idea what exactly a lens did and what the numbers on them meant. Alright, so let's get started. One of the first lenses I want to talk to you about is a kit lens. And if you don't know what a kit lens is a lens that comes with your camera when you first buy the camera. Now this right here is the Canon 18 to 55 millimeter lens, and this is 100% a kit lens. But the thing I want to say about this lens right here is that it is a super versatile lens. The reason why is because you have the ability to do a wide angle, but you also have the ability to do a short zoom. If you don't know what the numbers mean on these cameras, I want to explain a little bit for you real quick, okay? On this lens, it says 18 to 55 millimeters. And for those of you who don't know what that means, that pretty much means when you're at 18 millimeters, you're at a wider angle, right? So here's, okay, this is a 10 millimeter to 18 millimeter lens that I'm recording on right now. This right here is 10 millimeter, right? So when you move it to 18 millimeter, you're just zooming in. That's all you're doing. That's exactly what the 10 to 18 millimeter, the 18 to 55 millimeter does, okay? So when you go from one number, which is the smaller number, it's gonna be wider view, right? But when you go to the larger number, which is, say for instance, 55 millimeters, you're going to be zooming in to that subject that you're recording, okay? That goes for the same with pictures, the same with video, it's all the same, okay? I wanna explain that. Okay, the next thing I wanna talk about is the f-stop, all right? One of the things that I was so confused about is I didn't know what these numbers meant, right? So pretty much the main important thing about cameras is the amount of light they let in, okay? That's all that matters, right? So in the olden days, you had the cameras that were just Polaroids. It flashed for a second, it let light in, and it made an imprint on that picture, right? Same concept for your camera, okay? The DSLRs and the mirrorless cameras have a sensor in here which does pretty much the same thing. Flash of light comes in, boom, it hits that sensor, picture is taken, okay? That's how a camera works. These things are super complicated, super expensive, but that's how it works. Now, the next thing, like I was saying, is the f-stop, right? So if you can see these numbers here, right? So this is a I want to say 3.5 to 5.6 f-stop, okay? Now the reason why it has two numbers instead of one is because this, like I said, is an 18 to 55 millimeter lens, right? So when you're at 18 millimeters, the area at which it pulls in light is smaller, so it allows more light into your lens, right? So if you look through here, I'm at 18 millimeters, right? Now when I zoom in, boom. You see how that hole gets a little smaller? And that's why you have the 5.6, because when you zoom in, there's going to be kind of like a tunnel effect where it gets further apart, so it's going to be less light reaching the other side of that lens, so there's less light getting into the camera itself. Cool? Alright, so we got that out the way. That's what that means, okay? So I want to show you guys a few more lenses that you will most likely come across in your searches and in your finds and anything you're looking for. In most camera systems, you're gonna have the same lenses. And the reason being is because a lot of people like to use that same type of lens capture, right? So one of the big ones that you'll see is the 55 millimeter lens. Now the Nikons have it, the Sonys have it, and even the Canons have it. So if you don't know what a 50 millimeter lens is, it's a fixed lens. And what a fixed lens means is that there's no zoom on it. It stays at 55 millimeters the entire time. Now the 50 millimeter that I have is a 1.8 f-stop, and the reason why is because, as you can see, this hole is a little bigger, so it allows a lot more light. So that's exactly the type of thing I was talking about, where the amount of light is really what affects the picture, right? So that's why a lot of people have this, is because they can get a good amount of zoom out of a fixed lens, but at the same time you have a great amount of light. The more light you have, the more detail you're going to get but sometimes it can be bad for video because it can be letting in too much light, and you can't exactly adjust the iris on this type of lens right here. But overall, this is a great lens for video, for cinematography, for pictures. It is a great lens to have. And that is the reason why they call it the Nifty 50. Alright, so one of the next lenses I want to talk about is the Rokinon fisheye lens. And the reason why I want to talk about this is because I really like this lens a lot. It is a great cinematography type lens. It's got the fisheye. It's got the whole dome effect on the picture, and it's all manual. The reason why I don't use this as much really is because the lens itself can kind of distort the area and warp it, and I'm just not crazy about that as much because I don't want my viewers to see my vlogs and kind of get a little bit of wooziness because they're watching my vlogs. So that's why I'm currently using this lens, which I will talk about shortly. Now the fisheye lens is a great lens for extreme close-ups because you can get really close to your subject. Because it's an 8mm lens, it's going to be super far away, which is really, really beneficial. But overall, this lens is great. It's a full metal lens, and anytime you have a metal lens, it means that it's a great lens. Doesn't always mean that, but this thing is a beast. The next thing I want to talk about is a pancake lens, right? So pretty much a pancake lens is the same thing as the 50mm lens, essentially, but it's a lot smaller form factor, right? So this lens right here is a 22mm. This allows in about 2.0 amount of light. It's actually electronic, so the iris is closed right now, but that's the amount of light that it lets through. And this thing right here sits on the body like super close, so it's really, really good for mirrorless cameras because it's super tiny. Watch this. You see how tiny that is? You see how small that is? That is a pancake lens. Now this lens is really great. You can get really good pictures out of it, but you don't have the zoom and you don't have the functionality that a lot of the lenses do have, which is like image stabilization, iris adjustability, things like that. But overall, pancake lenses are legit. And you can't really talk about lenses without talking about adapters. And the reason I say that is because there are a lot of lenses that people like to use, but they're not exactly made by the maker that they like. For instance, this right here is a Canon EOS M. This camera right here will not take my EF-S lenses, right? Will not fit. Though it's a Canon camera, it does not fit the lens that I want. So by having the adapter, I can connect this to my camera, boom, and now I can connect my Canon lens. And that is a beast of a camera now. Look at that. So the next lens I want to talk about is the one that I'm recording on, and we're going to pull this off real quick and switch it out to the fisheye. Let's go. Alright, so we're now on the fisheye lens. This is one of the lenses that, like I said, you can tell where it's kind of warped, but at the same time, I can get really close to this thing. I'm like this close to this camera right now, and I can pretty much touch it with my nose, and it still seems like I'm far away. That is the benefit of this 8mm lens, the fisheye lens. And this lens right here is pretty similar. It's got very, very slight warping, but it's nowhere near as bad as this 8mm lens. And this is the 10 to 18mm Canon EF-S lens. The reason why I like this lens so much is because you still have that slight zooming ability, but you also have such a great wide range of things you can get in this camera lens. This is what any vlogger or anybody who does interviews should be using. You can get the subject in the picture, but at the same time you can get a large amount of the background in the picture. Now this lens right here, just like most of the Canon STM lenses, has the image stabilization, and it also has the autofocus and manual focus. It is super, super quiet, which is really good because in any situation, when you're recording video and that autofocus is making that little motor noise, like it's really annoying in your videos. But this lens right here, let me tell you guys, this is the best lens I've ever owned for vlogging. If you guys are vloggers like me, I highly suggest you get a 10 to 18mm lens. And Nikon has them, Sony has them, everybody has them. So I highly suggest, if you're vlogging, to get one of these lenses. So because I like this lens so much, we're gonna switch it back. Let's do this. Well guys, thank you so much for watching this. I really hope that it helps you guys who are out there and have no idea what lenses are, what they do, why they do what they do, and what the purpose is, because I really want to help you guys learn more about these. I'm not an expert by any means, but I do try to simplify it as much as I can to help you guys who are starting out. Thank you so much for watching. Please make sure to like this video if it helped you at all. Make sure to leave me a comment if you have any questions at all. Also, if you're new to the channel, subscribe. Thanks guys. Peace.